Hi, everyone. My name is Laura Good, and I would like to welcome you to the Q&A for today's screening of Silver Linings Package at SIFF Shorts Fest. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the program. It was assembled as a collection of all of these beautiful films that had something redemptive or beautiful or positive come out of something dark, and explore how even the darkest clouds can have silver linings. And I think that's something we all need in this day and age. And I'm so thrilled that we have filmmakers from all but one of the shorts with us today. So welcome, filmmakers. Thank you so much for being here. If you could each introduce yourself and make sure to unmute yourself. And I'll call out maybe each of you to just say a quick hello and remind us of your film and your role on the project. So do you want to start us off, Konstantinos from Postcards?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Konstantinos Antonopoulos. I'm the writer and director of Postcards from the End of the World.
Wonderful.
From Athens, Greece. And I'm happy to be here.
Oh, great. And good idea. If everyone could say where they're calling in from, that'd be amazing. And then maybe next we'll do Brianna Murphy. Just I'm going in order of runtime of the films in the program.
Hi, I'm Brianna Murphy. I was one of the producers on Raspberry, and I'm calling in from Tongva land, which is commonly known as...
Cool. Thank you. And you directed like the ones I used to know.
Yep. I'm Annie Saint-Pierre. I direct and wrote like the ones I used to know. And I'm in Montreal, and I would like to be in Seattle, but I'm a bit with you virtually.
Amazing. Inez, do you want to go next?
Oh, yeah. My name is Ines Gidirwe. I am from Rwanda, but now I am in Egypt. My name is my movie's name is Breaking Ground, and I'm the director.
Wonderful. And Reef, you're up next.
My name is Reef. I'm the producer for Are You Still There? And I'm based in Los Angeles. I'm super excited to be here.
Amazing. And then last but certainly not least, Anthony.
Anthony Lemaitre. I'm the director of Intermission, and I'm from Paris. And I'm very glad to be here.
Great. Thank you guys all so much for being here. I was wondering if you could just start off by first talking a little bit about the genesis of the inspiration behind your film. What drove you to make it, or in the event that you weren't the person that came up with the inception of the idea, as in some of your producers, if you could just talk about what drew you to it and how you became involved. And we can follow the same sort of order in terms of runtime if we want to start off with Konstantinos.
Sure. So, the movie takes place on an island where a dysfunctional family faces the end of the world. And the idea came to me, it's very specific. It was in 2015. It was the highlight, let's say, of the Greek financial crisis. There was a week of chaos with protests and counter-protests, and the banks shut down, and there was a feeling that the economy is going to collapse and Greece is going to exit the Eurozone, whatever. There was a sense of chaos and nobody knew what's going to happen. And it was the first time, I think, my generation, or maybe even other generations, were experiencing this type of uncertainty. And I happened to be on an island during that time, on the island where we actually ended up making the film. And it was very paradoxical, looking at people panicking and going to the ATMs, trying to get money, or going to the supermarkets to stock up with goods, preparing for war. And at the same time, the sun is there and the sea, and some people just choose not to care and go and swim. And I thought it was an interesting way to talk about how who we are today, how we can deal with a big crisis. But just with that, as I was writing the movie, I ended up in reality writing something more personal, you know, about me and my parents going on vacation and witnessing my parents fighting all the time and thinking, why are these two people together? It's like a curse. They have to be with each other all the time. But they're still together, my parents, and they seem to love each other somehow. So I was wondering how this works, how love or relationships work after love or, you know, passion is long gone. How does this work?
And it certainly, you probably didn't even realize how timely this film would end up being at the time when you made it, because it's resonated. I know it was complete before those sort of lockdowns began, and it's become even more timely. And I know I've reflected on it a lot over the last year since I saw it when we first considered it for SIFF 2020. And yeah, it does end on such a hopeful, yet like somewhat ironic and cynical with the fairy going by at the end, but there is definitely a really hopeful silver lining in there, which is what I think we all responded to so much in that film on the programming team. Maybe Brianna, you could speak a little bit to what inspired Raspberry.
Yeah, sure. So Raspberry is actually lifted from a feature script that Julian, the writer and director, is writing about his father's passing. And the impetus of it Julian and I are also partners. So the kind of punchline, if you will, of Raspberry came from, we were actually hanging out one day, and I'm quite ticklish, and he was trying to blow a raspberry on my stomach, and I was like, he was like, just pretend you're dead, like don't laugh, you know. And then we started kind of riffing on that, like, what if that's how we tested if somebody was alive or not? Like, instead of checking their pulse, like, we blew a raspberry on him. And last year he wrote it, he like took that, dropped it into this kind of death scene from the script. And it was just after we had just gone to Sundance and we're like super inspired we were like, let's just make something of our own. And so he wrote it, uploaded it to a Dropbox, which he had forgotten was shared. And then Ray, who plays the son and is also one of our producers, and Turner, who's our other producer, read it and like messaged Julian and were like, we should make this. This is really good. And it kind of started, it's kind of funny because I think the first iteration of the script was a little more of a joke. And Ray found a lot of heart in the script, which I think is all there now. And so it went through, you know, a revisions process, and it's become this like really beautiful commentary on how we grieve, and like, is there a right way to grieve, and also exploring that within an Asian American like viewpoint. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it all came about. And yeah, I guess that's my answer for that.
That's really cool to hear. Yeah, because it's one of those films that I remember when I saw it thinking, wow, like whoever wrote or first saw the script for that and believed that they could bring it into being with such dimension and heart was really brave, because it's something that you feel like shouldn't work. Like, how are they going to pull that off? But it just comes together so well. And it's such an incredible film. So we're thrilled to have it.
Yeah, no, it was like, sorry.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say, like, I think the reason there's heart is because everyone who read it, like almost every crew member related to it, and like everyone is going to know someone who dies eventually, and a loved one. And so I think everyone brought that to it, and that's what created all of the dimension for it.
On that note, Annie, your film really speaks to family dynamics and is definitely pulls on the heartstrings as well. Do you want to speak a little bit about like the ones I used to know for us? What inspired
it? The idea came, I think, when some producer approached me to do a collective of scenes for a Christmas movie. And at first I was just like, oh, I want to make a Christmas movie. I really love Christmas, but really I don't know why, because my Christmases when I was young were not so magical, or there was just like part of magic, and then after, well, as in the movie, but it's not a totally biographical movie, but it's kind of inspired from my experience. And yeah, I was just thinking about it, and the collective movie didn't work, and I stayed with this idea. And I don't know, there was also this moment when a lot of people were doing coming of age movie, and I was thinking of, well, I think that if I had to do a coming of age, I would do it with a girl who is like 8 years old, because I remember that because my parents were divorced, I had to grow at this age, like, because I had my father to take care of. And I just thought that a lot of people probably experienced that, and it was a great thing to put it um, in an opposite mood with Christmas, which is so cheerful, joyful, and so fun. And this experience, which is so tough to have to tough, but important and beautiful, to have to develop your empathy the moment that you see your parent not being powerful, and then you have to be more adult, and you have to understand that, okay, family puts you in some places where you have to not think just about yourself, and you have to grow up faster than maybe you would have liked. But it's also rich to have to do that because of our family links. So yeah, that was kind of the inspiration, and I think that I really love to go deep in those little moments of ordinary life, but that uh, give us the chance to understand a little bit more the human psychology. I don't know the word
That
exactly.
definitely comes across in the little nuances and details and just the way you shot the film. It's so rich and textured and lived in, and yeah, beautiful.
Thank
We're
you.
so thrilled to have it. I
Thank
think
you.
next I will jump over to Inez and ask Inez if you could speak a little bit about Breaking Ground and what inspired you to make it.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? My voice is a little bit rough. Okay. Um, so some events that inspired breaking ground in our community, in our society. Uh, in a way, there is how a married woman is expected to behave. So I've been watching that, seeing that around our families, around family friends, and there is these stories that I keep hearing my parents talking about, other people talking about. So I was like, I wanted a story that's different. That's that a woman is going to act or to be different from what's expected of him, from what's expected of her, and uh, do something that challenges others, like not not make a movie typically about violence that is made uh, uh, against women, but also something about a woman who is trying like to reconnect with herself, who she used to be, uh, and try to live again, to live life again, not live up to anybody's expectation, but also try to reconnect with the person she used to be. Something of that that's something similar. Yeah.
And that's what I love so much about the
Mm.
film, is that it straddles with such nuance all of those aspects that you touched on, and that it is so unique from so many films that I've seen as a programmer on the topic of domestic abuse. And I just love that it ends with sort of the beginning of a smile. Like it's not giving it to you, not giving it away, but just showing that there's hope. It's a hopeful film, I found. That was my interpretation. That's what I really,
Thank you.
really stayed with me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I would love it if we could hear from Reef, the producer of Are You Still There? Could you speak a little bit about at what stage you became involved in the project and what drew you to it?
Yeah, so the genesis of the film stemmed from a personal experience that Rika had. One of the co-directors in college, her father passed away, and for about three months after that, she had kind of just buried herself into work and school and didn't really take time to grieve or think about it. And I think that's something all of us kind of do, you know, especially in like American cultures. You have that kind of notion you need to keep your head down and just keep working and push forward. And one day her car broke down on the freeway. Like she had a flat tire on the freeway, and her like instinct was just to call her dad, because that's who she would call normally when she had car trouble or kind of needed to get out of a pinch. And she kind of had that moment of, he's not here anymore, for the first time. And she like kind of broke down, and like that's kind of when she came to terms with the idea that her dad's no longer with her. So she had that idea floating around for quite some time. And her and Rika and Sam come from a documentary background, but kind of wanted to start focusing more on narrative. So we had been discussing working together for quite some time, and they came to me with that idea, and but still wanting to keep a lot of their documentary sensibilities, which kind of led to like, you know, working with non-actors and kind of just a very spontaneous style. And then to match that with kind of an, you know, Oscar Farhadi kind of minimal slice of life film, you know, I think with short film, it's such a great opportunity to just take like a slice of life moment and just tell that story. So they came to me with that, and we kind of just developed it from there. And yeah, and then just started prepping the film. We wanted to keep that extremely organic style, that documentary style to the film, which kind of was like the through line throughout. Like, how do we make this more genuine? Let's not be flashy. You know, if we do have a interesting shot or anything like that, let's be really restrained and kind of keep true to the story and stay with Safa in that car. Mm-hmm.
That's great, thank you. And I think that slice of life sensibility definitely is part of why the film's so effective, and just the lack of exposition and the fact that you know, her sort of emotional state just unfolds really organically and with so much nuance is what's so effective about it. So that's really interesting to hear the origin story. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd love to ask Anthony if you could tell us a bit about Intermission. What inspired it?
I wanted to talk about the fact how cinema can change your life, how cinema can help a young teenager to grow up. And I wanted to, the first scene I had in mind was the scene when the teenager was alone in the movie theater, and watched this old movie, Bicycle Thief, and became very touched by this film. That was the first thing I had in mind. And then there is other story about him and his father. So the cinema was the main film of the movie, but it's weird because I shot this movie before the COVID crisis, before the quarantine, and now all the movie theaters are closed. So my short movie has a very special. It's really special nowadays because of the COVID crisis. Yes.
Definitely. I actually sent around your film after SIFF 2020 was put on hiatus to the whole programming team as like a love letter to cinema and a note of hope, just to, you know, remind us all why we all do it. And yeah, I think that it definitely takes on a new resonance looking at it today than 1 year ago even. But I do want to ask, what made you choose, did you know when you wrote the film that the two films you wanted to have in the narrative were Fast and Furious, I can't remember what number, and Bicycle Thieves? Or did you play around with that a little bit?
No, it's from the start because Fast and Furious is a blockbuster that a lot of young people je sais pas comment on dit tendance, is a trend blockbuster. I don't know, it's, yes, okay.
Yeah,
and, but I didn't want to opposite blockbuster and auteur movie, because in fact I like both. I've watched Fast and Furious, and of course I've watched Bicycle Thieves. So I didn't want to opposite the two kind of cinema. For me, the same thing, and I really wanted that when the three young men talked about Fast and Furious, they talk very sincerely. I didn't want to no, okay.
Peut-être que je peux aider, Anthony.
Ouais, merci. J'ai dit, je voulais je voulais que quand il parle de Fast and Furious, il le parle de façon sincère. Je voulais pas me moquer d'eux, c'est leur cinéphilie.
You wanted to honor both, basically.
Oh.
Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. He wants to honor both.
My friend
he didn't want to make fun about Fast and Furious.
Well, I think that's a, you know, a great note to sort of start to wrap things up on, as, you know, the film that was the love letter to cinema. That's why we wanted it to cap off the program as well. There's so much more I would love to dig into with all of you around, you know, tonal sensibility and aesthetic and influences, but it's pretty cool that a lot of you did kind of tuck into those different themes as we went through just inspiration points. So it was really awesome to hear from all of you. We don't have time to do another in-depth roundtable, but I wanted to ask if you could each just give a brief send-off with where audiences can follow your work and or what's next for this film or your next project. If you want to kick us off, Konstantinos?
Sure. I'll just say what, because I'm preparing a couple of movies and my mind is always there, so I'll talk about this. I'm preparing a short film and a feature film that's gonna take a little bit more time to be financed, but they both take place in the medieval times here in you know, Southeastern Europe, but they're super minimalist and hopefully funny and tragic, like postcards from the end of the world. So that's what I'm up to these days.
Very cool. Brianna?
Julian, our writer-director, is working on 2 different feature scripts, kind of dealing with the same themes as Raspberry, but they're a little different. And I grew up in the Seattle area, so during lockdown, I ended up writing a bunch of short films about growing up in Seattle, and so I'd like to eventually come home and make them there. And you can you can follow all of us. It's Raspberry Short Film on Instagram. That's like a good way to keep up with us. And we're doing more festivals and hopefully we'll do distribution and so that people can see it more publicly. And yeah, that's a good way to be in touch with all of us.
Amazing. Thank you. Excited to see those shorts. Annie?
I also do documentaries, so I have a featured documentary that is already produced and ready to shoot, but we have been stopped by COVID. But it's a documentary about life coaches, and it's called Your Higher Self, and it will be shot in different countries. So we are waiting for the virus to go away. And I'm also writing feature narrative right now, and I'm also working on a narrative of another friend, and I don't have any website, so you can Google my name, I guess, or you can go on Instagram on ANNNNNNNIE. And yeah, it's not really, I'm not a good sailor, but you can, yeah, you can go on Facebook also with my name, and just hope that I'll have another film ready to come back to Seattle in person.
Awesome. I hope so. Inez, do you want to tell us what's next for you?
Okay. I am working on, I'm developing another short, a little bit about the search of identity and about social concepts. So that's what I'm working on these days, and hopefully it all goes well.
Great. Thank you. And last but not least, Reef, or no, not last, second but to last. Reef, do you want to tell us what's next? For either Are You Still There or yourself?
So Are You Still There is going to continue the festival run through North America this year. And you can follow any updates on that on areyoustilltheremovie.com for any updates, and all of our social links are there as well. And then the team and I, Sam Reich and I, are planning on shooting our next short this summer. So it's exciting, and hoping to make the 2022 festival run in person.
Amazing. Yeah, let's hope so. And then Anthony, could you tell us what's next for you or for your film?
I developed my first feature film, and I hope to shoot it next year. And you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of the filmmakers here, and for not only being here for the Q&A, but for trusting us to present your work to SIFF audiences who I know are going to respond to it as much as we all did. And I can't wait to hear the feedback. And thanks to all of you who are tuning in, who are those audiences. We couldn't do it without you. And please join us for the next one. Thanks, guys. Signing off.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.